All right, we're live. Welcome to another episode podcast with GishiFPS. Hello, YouTube. Hello, Kick. If you're watching Kick, this has been live streamed. Today's date is July 1st, 2023, and we have Gishi and Purpose, and you can see him right in this corner over here. So, hello. Purpose also is in the background, so the voice you hear in the background also will be Purpose. He is there. So, we are going to get started. This is kind of a as you can see, I am not in the regular abode. This is my sister's place. So I'm still here, dog sitting. Guess where my sister is? She's in Maui right now. She's bearing the vacation that I could have gone on, but apparently someone has to watch the dog. So I'm getting paid for it, but I am here. So, all right. So in terms of the podcast, we start off and kind of like an update to say where you've been, what's been going on. But let's do introductions first. So Gishi, give us a little 411 on you. What do you do? Where people can find you? Introduce yourself.
Oh, okay. Intros.
Yes, intros
My
indeed.
name is Gishi. GishiFPS, actually. You can call me Gishi. You can find me on the old Kick, kick.com. I keep trying to say kick.tv, but it's not.
No.
Kick.com/GishiFPS. I'm also on Twitch, twitch.tv/GishiFPS. And various other socials, including Twitter. I'm not going to go through all of them, but basically, I am I'd say, content creator, graphic designer by profession, content creator by hobby, and yeah, that's me.
Okay. In terms of the podcast, I believe it's been a month. So, Purpose, since you're in the wings, what have you been up to last month?
I've been playing a lot of D4 in my downtime. The schooling is kicked up. I got 2 classes a week, so pretty busy this month and next month. But trying to progress through my barbarian and D4 in the meantime. So
Nice. So yes, I've been in the last month bought a house. That's mostly the big news apparently. Moving in next week, so it's going to be an experience. New setup, everything. I've already kind of mapped out my room where I'm going to put everything, so it's very interesting. There's no AC, but when I went to go to the house for a second time, it literally was there's a tree that's covering like at least the first 2 stories. The attic is always going to be warm. There's no way you can get the attic not to be warm. But it's like any house in the UK, right? Because there's no AC in the houses in the UK at all.
That is correct. It doesn't get hot enough over here. We don't need it.
Exactly. And like this house was designed in 1875, and I was like feeling like the walls in this house are pretty thick, I imagine. So like all the heat is just going up but it's oil heat. So at least I know in the winter I will have oil, and I have to worry about oil fuel to power the heat in the house. So we'll see. But it's gonna be an adventure. There's a garage that's separate, so I might be tearing that garage down because it's really old. Maybe turn it into like a streaming studio. So we'll see. It's like projects down the line to do. There's a gigantic garden. Funny, there's a cemetery. I didn't notice the first time I was there until I looked at the map. Like you go further down the backyard and you look to the right, you see many rows of tombstones over there. So there's like a cemetery. I don't know if that's good luck or bad luck. There's a cemetery like within like a hand's throw of where I am, but it is what it is. So, but yeah, that was the big news from this month. I did go on a little bucket list vacation because she heard when I said I'm in a treehouse. So I did go to North Carolina for a treehouse. That was an Airbnb. It had like a toilet, a shower, lost out bed. So it was pretty cool, and I spent down there for a couple of days.
I have to say I'm kind of jealous of Gishi. They don't need to have AC over there. Whereas here, it's literally been hitting 100 degrees outside, and I was at work the other day and looked at the thermometer and the plant that I work, and it said 125. So that I envy you.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it. We have like obviously we have AC at the office where I work and stuff, but like I think you guys have it in like your homes and things, right? You've got like air
Correct.
conditioning
Yeah.
units. Like
Yeah.
yeah, we don't. It doesn't get hot enough for a consistent amount of time in order for us to need that. Like, but if you hop over to like Spain, like it's normal. Like it gets super hot in Spain, and obviously like they have siestas and stuff because it just gets unbearable. But yeah, no, over here, nah, not hot enough. We're
Well,
in the-
but-
yeah,
All right.
So like right now, it's like 81 degrees in my house, and that's with the AC running nonstop, trying to keep the temps that low. 80 degrees Fahrenheit.
yikes.
What is it translate to Celsius? Hold on, for other people. What does it translate to Celsius?
Oh
80.
goodness, I don't know.
It translates to 26 Celsius.
That's warm. That's warm.
That's the word.
Yeah, that's with the AC running nonstop in the house. It's 26 degrees Celsius.
Oh my
But then,
gosh.
but when the UK gets a heat wave, isn't it like you guys were just like, it's unbearable. You guys are not used to this. All right.
That is us. yeah,
Yeah.
we complain that it's always cold, and then it's like hot for like 2 days, and then we're just like, no, we complain about that. That's
Yeah.
that's how we roll, really. We're just a big old country of complainers.
But
yeah.
So being in the Midwest, in the United States, we actually hit both sides of the spectrum, where like we can hit up to like 100. I think we max out at around 106 degrees Fahrenheit, but we can go all the way like last winter. I think we got down to like -5, -6 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's like just total opposite ends of the spectrum, and it's really weird, trying to keep your house a nice temperature.
That's
Gosh,
very true. Is it humid at all in the UK though? I'm just curious if it is.
Oh,
what was that? Sorry.
good
Like
question.
humidity. Like, do you guys get humidity?
Yeah. It does get it's like a humid heat. Yeah, you kind of
Yeah.
get it gets hot,
Really
and then it's just like
muggy.
muggy. That's it. It gets hot, and then it's just like, I can't. There's no breeze, and you're just like, it's not a fun heat. But then, but then, like as I say, I always use Spain as an example because we're known for hopping over to Spain for a holiday, but it's different over there because it's like it's not a humid heat, and it's just like, yeah, it's just a lot nicer. But yeah, no, it's we like to complain about it, but we do try to appreciate it when summer's round.
Yeah, true.
Everyone's happier and stuff, because the sun's out and things.
Wait, and does it snow? Because I guess me and Purpose always have experience with snow. Like, do you guys ever get snow too?
Yeah, we get it.
Okay.
But we get it at like weird. It's not really been consistent. I think that's probably like a global warming thing. It's starting to not get consistently at the same time.
That's true.
Yeah, but we do get
Yeah.
it, and
I can totally feel that too. The whole like we had, I think it was 2 years ago. It was in the last 2 or 3 years. We had like a snow that came through that was like, I don't know, 10 inches or something. And then literally within that same week, we had like 80 degree Fahrenheit weather following. Like the snow just completely melted, and you had like one of the warmest days ever in that same month. And it was just like, what just happened? Like,
Oh, exactly. It's global
how
warming.
is this a thing?
It's literally like
wild.
there's nothing wetter has never been. Like every time I'm saying like north, and then like go ahead north, it's gonna snow. Like it rarely snows consistently up here anymore. Like
Yeah.
you can get a freak snowstorm once in a while, and then surprisingly you get heat to like little week. You're like, what is going on? This is winter now. It's literally like never the same. But with all weather aside, because it's really tough because we're all in different spots of the world, and it's like, let's start on the podcast. So, in news and recent news, and a lot of so Kick has been going on for at least, I think, 6 months at least now, but they're in quarter two. So the topic is like, there's a recent interview, and I sent you guys the links. I don't know if you guys got a chance to watch the interview for the Twitch CEO and the Kick CEO. They're both very interesting. But yeah, like I watched the Kick interview first because that was more my interest of what to see what's going on, and it does seem like he did answer questions based on the fact that yes, stakeholders and Stake are also stakeholders in Kick, but the two companies are separate, so they're not necessarily being influenced by what Stake is doing, and then what Kick is doing is not being influenced by what Stake is doing, which is one major concern a lot of people have brought up when you mentioned Kick, because they're backed by a gambling site. And then they brought up another thing about the cost of Amazon Web Services, and everyone thinks that because they're not taking a cut, that is costing them to host the services. But then the Kick CEO kind of stated that it doesn't really cost as much as you think it costs, which wasn't really give you numbers or breakdowns, but that was another thing. And then major signings of like very big Twitch streamers in the last month or two with XQC and Emirav. They kind of brought up the fact that yes, XQC is very into Kick's mission, what Kick is trying to do, and then there's been many debates between XQC and Pokemon that's also been making news because like they've been kind of discussing back and forth, and like it's an interesting discussion because I feel like the Twitch CEO interview was definitely night and day, being that it's a big company. He's very versed in the way, like when you were talking to him, the one major difference I saw, like between the Kick interview, they both streamed it. So the Twitch CEO and the Kick CEO both streamed it. The Twitch CEO left his chat in emote only mode, so no one from his chat could respond. The Kick CEO let everyone talk there. So did you guys see it by chance before I kind of dive in further? Like, do you have any opinions of between the two stances?
I must say I did see I saw the Kick one when you were watching it. I remember you were watching it. I watched it then. I didn't realize that the Twitch CEO did one, but I'd be interested to hear your take on that actually, from seeing the other dude. And it's just like how. You remember I mentioned how I was like, oh my gosh, PR.
I know.
Like the PR team would be having a nightmare with this dude.
Exactly. Purpose, you have anything you want to add?
I didn't like fully watch them. I did listen to them in the background while I was working. I do think that it seems kind of like you had said that he put it in emo only mode. He did give a good reason for that. He felt that we're in an interview setting. Like, this person is wanting to talk to me about specific points. I'm going to stay away from trying to address the chat while this is going on in my Twitch chat. We're having a conversation, and it's a conversation between us type of thing. And that's the reason that he wanted to do that. And I think that's not you can knock him for it, but at the same time, like, I understand where he's coming from. Sometimes, the chat can be very disruptive, especially when you're in those one-on-one settings where you're trying to get like certain talking points out. I mean, I would be very surprised if he didn't know what questions were coming. More than likely, it was a curated list where he knows kind of what the talking points are going to be. Not necessarily to say it's scripted or disingenuous or anything like that. It's just, I've been given my questions. We've said we don't want these questions here, so I'm not gonna involve a chat that's going to then inject those questions that we don't want to talk about.
True.
Which is fair. I mean, people can say what they want to say about it, but this is very standard for business people to do in interviews. You look across the game industry, this is very, very common. So,
Yeah, 100%.
but as far as the mission statement from both companies and where they stand, it might be very it's similar in many ways, and it's also very different in some aspects. And so, I found it to be an interesting listen.
Exactly. I think that point also, like, because even watching the kick interview, you see chat scrolling and like, yes, you're right. There's people like, ask about this, and they're going over and over and over again. And like, even from the Twitch interview, it seemed like, yes, we had this hard-hitting, hardball questions. Then they ask it, and like, Kishi had the same thought about it, like where the Kick CEO was talking. The Twitch CEO was like, not directly answering the question, but kind of would say like, hey, about this and this, and like skirt around it enough that you feel like that was an answer. But then you're like, that is not an answer at all to the question. But yeah, like, stuff they brought up was like from monetary, well, nothing monetary. Like, they didn't want to really, Twitch didn't really want to compare itself to Kick as much, and like any of the other entities out there that are currently streaming. But there are like some interesting points they brought up about the moderation, because definitely Twitch is a lot heavily moderated, but in comparison, I've seen a lot of like, I've never seen a Twitch staff member in anyone's chat, like, ever. Like, at one point, like, I've seen Kick staff members show up in various other chats to maybe address an issue. So like, I feel like in terms of Kick and Twitch, yeah, testing around anomalies. Yes, but Twitch doesn't seem like, the one thing they brought up was Dr. Disrespect. So like, he's been banned from Twitch with no reason, and that was like one of the things. Like, they didn't really skirt around the reason, like, why was he banned, and like Twitch. Well, I guess he wasn't really going to give a reason and explanation to that. And I feel like just the take of any interview questions from that, like, it didn't seem like we're getting the like answers that the like the streamer base was wanting. And even with taking 50%. Oh yeah, and then the big thing about the Partner Plus program, which was like, I don't know if you guys have heard of this or not. But oh, hey Cap, 20. But yeah, the Partner Plus program is they're introducing it again, which is 70-30 split. But you have to have 350 concurrent subscribers, not gifted. 350 people that are subscribed to your channel, and there's a $100,000 cap on this, and like, it just seems not. I can see why the 1,000 cap exists, but then what happens when you get the 1,000 cap? You go back to 50-50. So like, if you are like a very good, very like popular streamer, you could probably reach that cap within a month. But then what happens for the next 11 months? You're back at 50-50. So like, it didn't seem like Twitch answered many of the like questions. And even if you guys, I know you guys also heard about the advertisements, where they're like scoping, like, ads couldn't be as big part of your screen, only take out this much space. All that wording came out. The Twitch's response to that was like, literally, that's not what we meant. Like, they took a step back, they backtracked from that, saying like, we're gonna retract that entirely. But like, all the publicity from Twitch in the last like couple of months has been pretty negative, and has not. And like, and then like, even with the Pokemon and the San debate was literally like, would you want to be associated with Kick, which is associated with Stake, which is associated with gambling, or are we with Twitch, which is also associated with Amazon, which also Amazon has not had. Like, I can't speak on specific issues on Amazon, but Amazon has not also been in the limelight as of like, any other company has been. But yeah, it's like, but yeah, the take between the two interviews was the fact that the Kick CEO feels really vested in the community, and is also constantly improving. Kick is still in beta, and there's a lot of aspects of Kick being in beta that Twitch has that Kick doesn't have. But then in terms of communities and everything, I feel like the Kick CEO hit that interview pretty good, and was like, of course, the Twitch person with all the policy, everyone backing him, tried to skirt around as many questions as he could about giving like a solid like answer. But even like there's one question, and I don't know what's your guys' opinion on this. It's the fact that why does Twitch restrict you to not able to be streaming on other platforms? You can do TikTok and Instagram at the same time because their services are not the same as Twitch. But you can't do Twitch and YouTube. You can't do Twitch and Kick. They're also now focusing on even people that are not even affiliate to do that, to kind of limit that. But he never really answered the question. So the question would be, for I guess Gishi stream, would you prefer for exposure? Would you rather be able to stream to, like, let's say Twitch, YouTube, and Kick all at the same time to see? But would you think that'd be helpful to you or more detrimental?
It's a good question. I think I just don't understand why. I mean, I kind of get from a business sense, I guess, why they'd want to limit someone to be like, just use our platform. But I don't get why, because for me, when it just seems like you're kind of stifling my kind of my reach, and like you don't want me to get too big for some reason. You want, like, if I was talking about Twitch, it was like you can only get big on Twitch. Like, we don't want you to get big anywhere else. But it's like it doesn't really affect you how large of a streamer I become. You know, like, I'm still going to bring revenue to your platform. If I'm multi-streaming, then what does it hurt? You know, the only person, I don't know. I don't get the whole multi-streaming thing. And to be honest, it'd be nice to be able to do multiple streams at the same time. Like, maybe I'm naive and I don't really see why it's a bad thing. If I could stream to Twitch and Kick at the same time, have the chat, and be able to, like, talk to everybody in the chat, that's ideal, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, I have a very similar application of what they're doing here. So, we're gonna buy Activision Blizzard, and we're going to make a game be only on one platform. By doing so, we are probably going to lose more money than gaining on that game, right? But it promotes our platform. So if you are buying a company and then releasing a game like, say, Starfield, this forces people to either play it on PC or play it on your console. So by having these restrictions where you can't stream on multiple platforms, they're trying to, the reality is before they didn't do it for the larger people. And the reason that they didn't do it, except for the larger people, the reason that they didn't do it except for the larger people is because the larger people are the draw to your platform, right? So what's the draw to Twitch versus Kick? The draw is the content creators. So they're trying to guard their content creators by not allowing them to stream other places. That's the reason. Does it hinder the content creator? Possibly. It really depends, especially on the lower end. I think that on the lower end, the extra exposure that they could get, it probably does hinder them some amount. But I think absolutely that's their end goal there, is to get more, to funnel more people to their platform, especially as things get more, as these platforms get more diversified and there's more options. You need to be even stronger about saying this is the reason to come to us. And it's not just features, because everyone can offer the same features. Kick will eventually offer the same features as Twitch. They need that. They need that. The staying power of those big content creators. And I think that that's what they're targeting. Do I think they're going about it the right way? Maybe not. But that's definitely their business mentality there.
That's very true. Exactly. But yeah, I think even before I started affiliate way back in the day, I was streaming to YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook all at the same time. So but exposure wise, I wasn't really getting any much exposure otherwise too. So it was one of those things like you could be branching out your audience. You could be hindering yourself even more because you got 3 chats to look at, and then you know who's who, where. And in terms of building a community, you might not be building a community because you're all over the place. So there's
Yeah,
pluses too. Yep.
So in that in that aspect, I believe there was an interview with Mr. Beast, which we all know he's like the guy, right? Like whenever it comes to content creation, like he is the guy. And whenever asked why he hadn't like gone to these other platforms or focused more on this or that, he simply said, if I take my focus away from my platform, then I'm hindering myself. I'm not going to make as good of a video. I'm not going to, like, why would I want to focus on these other things that just take me away from my audience? And that's really what he goes after. So there are pluses and minuses, and at some point I think that we could see growth, and then that growth, whenever it stops, it's going to stop because you're too split, right? There's just too many pots on the stove, or however you want to put it. I do want to make a point. We talked about how many L's that Twitch has gotten recently, right?
Right.
Oh, there we go. Never mind. You fixed it.
Sorry. I was messing around. Yeah, because you can't disappear.
You were. Gishi became a ghost.
Yes.
Lights went out. But okay, so I think that a lot of people, they have so many losses because no one wants to find a win for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that because like we are talking about all the like they're taking back. Yes, they have given and given and given to people, and I don't think, like, everyone says that Twitch is so greedy. Twitch is greedy. They give you every single Prime sub that you have. That is given. They don't have to give Prime subs. Prime subs are included with your Amazon Prime or Twitch Prime. They don't have to give those to anyone.
True.
Like it's literally just free money that's given to the content creators. And who's the last content creator you heard talk about that?
Yeah,
no one. No one talks
Fair
about
point.
And like the fact that we always just want to dog on them about all their decisions that they're making, and it's like some of their decisions that they're going through is literally just them trying to figure out how to make it profitable for them. And I think that like Kick gets to say, well, it's not that expensive, but they're not the one that are hosting all of it. Like they're just like, what happens whenever Amazon instead of taking from the content creators decide that it's time to start taking from other services? Okay, we're upping how much it costs Kick to use our backend. Like then Kick has to go to the same splits that Twitch is experimenting with. And I don't know, like, we don't know the numbers. We don't know the reality of what it is that Twitch and Amazon are facing here. That's they want Twitch to be profitable, which I don't know if that's the way for them to go about it in the first place. But I know Linus Tech Tips talked about it on the WAN show a few times recently, and they very much like they feel like people are very critical of Twitch to the point where they're hypocritical toward Twitch. Because how many of us were the same people who were saying, it's not fair that we have hot tub streams, it's not fair that we have gambling streams, all these things, and now we're all jumping ship to a place that's made on this stuff because they're offering it. We're like, and they're offering a better split. So because they're giving us the extra 20%, that 20% we're selling out if we're jumping, and that was our take on that. we're selling out because we're saying, okay, well, 20% is enough for me to allow that on the platform that I'm streaming on. I was throwing a fit whenever it was 50-50 and like, or whenever it was 70-30, and then, you know, I jumped and, you know, so, I mean, it like, it really puts into question a lot of things. It's not so cut and dry, this whole Kick versus Twitch thing, where, you know, I do see where they say, you know, it's not as easy as 70-30 and 50-50. It's just not as easy as that.
Yeah.
Because you are putting your morals and ethics into question. If you were one who spoke out, then you're just saying, well, I'm fine with it on this platform because they give me 20% more. So you just sold your ethics for 20% more. Like, and I'm not trying to, you know, no shots fired or anything. It's just the reality of the thing. What is it? Where do we draw the line, and what is it that we really want here? Like, they're just one platform or the other, right? It's just a choice to make. It's no different than Sony versus Microsoft. And I think really that it's getting blown up into this thing where, you know, we have to choose a side, and we really shouldn't be choosing sides. We should just be going where we have the most fun and we feel that we're better compensated. And I'm not talking about compensated in a maybe I'm using the wrong word. I'm not talking about compensated in a physical way. I'm talking compensated in like terms of happiness. You know, I think that since going to Kick, you know, is happier about what he has on his platform that he's streaming on, and some people are going to be happier on one platform than the other, and I think that's really what we need to dig down into is what are the positives and negatives of streaming on the services. Why do we care so much about the background stuff? You know, like, there's so much stuff going on in the background, and the reality is unless there's some sort of transparency, which there's not, we have no idea what's going on legitimately with their numbers and what they're trying to target. So it just makes it really hard. And as a consumer of things, like, we always just look at, you know, what's best for us fiscally or what's best for us emotionally, and you know, I just think that that's where our decisions lie, is just, you know, in the event that what's better fiscally and emotionally is Kick, then Twitch just fails, right? Like, eventually Twitch just fails, and whenever they fail, then we go wherever else we go, and we do our thing. But that's where I think that, you know, Linus hit it right on the head whenever he said maybe Twitch isn't the product. Maybe the product is, you know, the streaming service itself that they're selling to all these places anyway. You know, maybe their product is that Kick's gonna pay for everyone to use their streaming service, and then if that be the case, maybe Kick has to up, you know, how much they take from the creators, and we'll just see where it goes. We just really don't know right now.
Yep, it's still pretty early to say, for sure.
Yes, it is very early.
Yeah.
No, I think that's very enlightened way of viewing the whole situation, to be honest. And it kind of made me, as Purpose was talking, kind of made me think about like how people like to be part of a tribe. People like to band behind something just to feel that they're behind something and to feel like they belong as part of a group, and, you know, without actually thinking about what that means. You know, there's I don't know whether we've probably spoken about this to death. You probably have spoken about this to death, but, you know, the whole cyberpunk thing. You know, like how it's just an example, but how you know, someone that you'd probably respect would say, "Oh, this game is crap," and then because you respect that person, you want to be aligned with them, you probably go, yeah, no, it is crap. But then have you actually kind of formulated your own opinion based on what you've seen, what you've experienced, or are you just wanting to be part of that tribe? And it kind of becomes this whole thing with, I mean, Kick have got the advantage of kind of coming in and going, hey, you see everything that this platform is doing, we're doing this, you know? So it's kind of like they've got the advantage of just kind of playing off the stuff that isn't working and just kind of going, it's not like that over here, and then you kind of get the it was just like an interesting way to think about it, you know. I'd completely forgotten about the hot tub stuff, and actually I'd landed on the Kick homepage and I was like, God, I hadn't seen like hot tub, like on the front, I hadn't seen a hot tub stream like on Twitch, and like I don't even know if it's a thing. I don't think it's a thing anymore, is it? Is it a thing?
Like on the
I
main
believe
page?
it is.
I think so. Like,
I don't think it's on the main page. So I think that like they took it off main page.
Oh, let me go check out.
So you can go if it's what you're looking for, you can browse and you can find it. But I don't think that they feature any of it on the main page.
Oh.
So like that, I think that's one of the lines in the sand that they drew was we don't want someone to come to Twitch and just be, the front page. It's just, girls sitting in hot tubs and bikinis. Like that's not what they want for their platform. So, but yeah, it like so many people forget about the struggles that they went through literally within the past year.
Yes.
We totally forgot that those were things we were talking about. Like we talked about it here on the podcast, I think, and it's just like, man, that's just we just forget about things, and like it's so easy for us to just move on, and I think that we do it the same way. Like whenever gaming was on in the early stages, it was like you bought a game, you bought it as it shipped, right? Like once it was in your hand, like there was no changing that game. Because it was on a cartridge, it was physical, and there was no access to a way to modify that, or not no way, but there was no realistic way for them to deliver like an update to it, and then as we started getting into the internet, online, being able to connect, do updates on your game, it was really looked at as a positive, but then they did the first DLC, and it was like, okay, I gotta pay for this game a little bit more, but I'm getting a little bit extra here, and then I look back and I remember it was Call of Duty Black Ops was the first game that I remember doing this, where people took the disc and they found the maps that were in the DLC on the disc. So whenever the DLC came out, you paid for a 3 megabyte file that just unlocked unlocked the maps that were on the disc. So it was literally, you had it ready to ship with the game, but you wanted us to pay for it later. So, and that was like, people were like, whoa, and got really upset about it. And now it's like, you're not even like, and we can shots fired a lot of games, but I'll go to, No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky launched and people just hated it, right? Like they were like, oh my gosh, like this is not at all what we were promised. You delivered a half-baked game, right? Now, if you go back and play No Man's Sky now, it's a very different game. I haven't played it personally, but I know people who have and who say, go back and give it a try. It's actually like a super good game now. But it was half-baked at the launch, and almost every one of those games, they're dead in the water, right? Like if they're like that on launch, they're dead in the water. And this goes to the to something that Gishi was kind of talking about, was he said, the whole Cyberpunk thing, it was half baked at launch, and then Like it's a totally different game now. And Fallout 76, totally different game from launch. Like if you ask a lot of the people who play these games later, they're like, oh, it's one of the best games I played, you know. Diablo 3, whenever it launched, terrible. In a lot of people's minds, you got the Creparians out there who loved the sheer difficulty of hell, but you know, there's just so many examples of this where they come back, they put out a patch, that's good. So I mean, I think that like going to like kick had, you know, it had a little rocky of a start, if you ask me. We had like the you know, it's literally just a copy and paste of the code for Twitch, right? Like I'm
Similar,
pretty
but
sure
yes.
that was initially what it was,
Oh, yeah.
or at least that's what it seemed like. Now a lot of people said if you looked at the code, it was different. They just like really should have did a lot more to make it look different.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, we'll just see where this stuff lands, and I just think that, you know, it's a slippery slope going back to the DLC and all that. You know, we just like we accept it. Microtransactions. How many people were excited whenever they introduced microtransactions? Pretty sure no one. And now how much money is made in the space on microtransactions?
Oh my god, yes.
It's like that $21 Diablo 4 skin, isn't it?
Yeah.
Call of Duty skins, everything. Yeah, there's a lot
Yeah,
of
That's not even micro anymore, is it?
Yeah.
It's not a microtransaction.
But how do they say, well, how do we make money then?
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody thinks that you have to make like every game, like how many games this is, you know, off subject, but this is one that really kills me is like, when was the last like super good like RTS released? Like under Activision Blizzard, like whenever they were owned by what? I guess it was just Activision, right? But they like, when did they release StarCraft 3? Like, was that ever released? Or was that just Nope. No. StarCraft 2 was the last StarCraft game. Because why would they release StarCraft 3? StarCraft 3 is like, you know, it wouldn't be a games of service.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing we get anymore outside of like indie games. Like indie games, you get a full game, but like everything else is games of service. Like every game we play is a games of service game. Diablo 4 games of service. Like the everything just wants to be updating the game. Launch a half-baked game because it doesn't matter. In 2 months, it's a totally different game. So
yeah, 100%. I think the big kind of, for me, catalyst of this, I may be wrong, but I feel like the thing that I always think of when I think about like the gaming space as it is now is like Fortnite. You know, Fortnite just makes so much money, and you know, and the model of Fortnite is very clear. You know, they've got the skins, they've got the battle pass. The what they are buying or what they're taking is time, you know, and like all the other development, not even the devs actually, probably like the stakeholders are just like, we want to do what Fortnite's doing. They're making billions upon billions of dollars, and all they have to do is just keep people engaged and just churning out content. So you guys need to do this to make that Fortnite money. And then that's the new measure of success. But like Fortnite was like lightning in a bottle kind of thing. And now everybody is trying to get to those levels of like making money. And it's just making the quality of originality and new ideas and games coming out working. Just, you know, it's just gone.
At this point.
But no shade at Fortnite. by the
Oh,
way.
shit.
It's not shade. It's just like the annoying thing is you see someone like making this money, so you're like, I want to make that money. I'm going to copy your homework, but
Right.
I'm not going to do it as well as you are. And then the quality of everything else just goes down.
True.
Yeah, I fully agree. I think that, you know, you hit the nail on the head whenever you say, you know, everybody just wants to release skins, whatever, to make all their money. And that, like, I think how many games have failed now where that was the whole, because that was the only thing they knew. What we know is that we have a popular franchise that we can use, and we want to just sell as many skins from this franchise as we can. And what's the game about? I don't know, just put it like Fortnite. Like, you know, and I think that's absolutely true. Like, they might change a little thing, or they'll go, well, let's do like let's try and make it like let's do Hearthstone, because, you know, that was a fun card game. So now, and like, and I love the game, but I'm gonna throw some shade at it now. Like, look at Magic the Gathering, and all the issues that they're having right now with their player base, where they get a contract with Tolkien, and they're literally releasing a Lord of the Rings set. Who would not want to own some cool stuff from Lord of the Rings on a Magic card, right? Like,
yep.
And it's like, so they release it, and they're like, okay, the One Ring, and so you have the One Ring, and then you have this version of the One Ring, and then you have this version of the One Ring, and they literally released like 5 different versions of this card. And it's like, they're doing it every set, though. It's not just with Lord of the Rings, it's with everything. They're like, well, you have this one, this is the serialized version of the card, and it looks like this. And then you have this version of the card that looks cool, but then you also have this version of the card. You can only get this version of the card out of the collector's packs. Those cost $25 a piece for 12 cards. And then you can do, and it's like, you like, just, there's so much there, and they're just trying to do like Fortnite. Like, I remember whenever I played the game, and you either opened a foil of a card, or you opened a non-foil of a card, and that was it. And there was no like enhanced, like, you didn't have to feel like you were playing the lottery, to the point where they legitimately released a serialized the One Ring, and it was one of one. And like, the person who opened it sent it off to PSA, and like the open offer for it is $2 million, and the person doesn't want to take the $2 million for the card. Like, but it's the only one. Like, it's literally more rare than like all the other cards out there. Like, there's only one card that's anywhere close to as rare as that, and that would be the Mint 10 Beta Lotus. Like, there's only one Mint 10 Beta Lotus in the world. Like, there's only one of this Lord of the Rings, the One Ring card. There's only one. Those are the only two. That's the only card that they can compare to. And that card is like 30 years old. Like, and the only reason why it's the only one that you can like compare it to is because it's old enough that they're either damaged, or, you know, they don't exist. They've, you know, it's just a rare card anymore in general. And then to have it Mint 10, but no, they just printed a card that's one of one, so it makes it just as rare as that card that's 30 years old. And like, they're literally like, the value of the card is the same as that 30-year-old card. It's just silly. Like, why are they doing this? Why are they, like,
it's crazy?
Because they want to capitalize on that Fortnite money. They're a physical card game trying to capture Fortnite money. Like,
like, it's interesting because Purpose, like, when you listen to Purpose, like, my brain, like, he unlocks things
Look.
with the way that his brain works that I didn't realize. I'm like, oh
There you
yeah,
go.
like he uncovers stuff.
That's
It's actually
purpose.
like really cool conversation because
Oh, yeah.
like what you were saying just made me think of like two things. We're talking about like Fortnite and the how it's kind of affected how games are made, but like it made me think of the I don't know whether it was in the 80s, but there was like a pretty much a gaming crash in the 80s in terms of like there were just so many consoles that they were churning out,
Yeah.
and they were just churning out so many games, and the quality was just rough, and they thought
E.T..
that. Sorry.
E.T.
Yeah.
Oh, you see.
Atari E.T.
Mm.
That
And,
was the cause of the gaming crash because it's such a terrible game. And they were just like,
Yeah.
to the fact that like you might be going here, but to the fact that Nintendo literally had to brand their new console as something totally different and package it with Rob the robot so that they could like get people to buy video games again.
Yeah. I feel like we're on the verge of the modern gaming crash. Like, hear me out. The reason why I say that is because there's only so much more that we'll be able to take of battle passes, microtransactions, and bad quality of product, right? There's only so much more that gamers will be able to take, and I feel like the conversation at the moment is getting to the stage where people are just getting really fed up of it.
Yeah,
And it's gonna get to
fed up.
yeah, and it's I feel like there's going to be an implosion, and then there's going to be like a state where everyone's going to kind of sit back and be like, oh right, God, we really got really greedy, didn't we? Why were we trying to put a battle pass in?
Yeah.
I don't know, like freaking what's the most ridiculous game that has a battle pass? It's not ridiculous. It's not ridiculous of a game, but it has a battle pass. Like Rocket League, for example. It's a game about cars playing football. Like that has a battle pass in it,
Mhm.
Like.
So the most
Yeah.
ridiculous one, and I'm guilty of it, because I actually partake in this battle pass as much as it pains me to say. There's a game, it's available on most game stores. It's called Idle Champions, and it's literally just like it's a clicker game where you have little champions, and it's literally an idle game. It plays while you're doing other stuff. You may have to mess with your formation or whatever, but it plays itself. And there's a battle pass in there, and the battle pass is there just to get you skins, more clickers, and stuff. And I'm like, I can't believe I'm buying this, but it's such a good value for what you get compared to what they charge you for that stuff. Normally I'll pay $10 and get the stuff because I do. And it's one of those games where you don't really have to play it very much, but whenever I want to whenever I'm I just want to relax for a minute, I can kind of set up a team to do something, set up a formation to go and do a certain quest or something, and try to advance my quest further and stuff. Just a cool little thing. But why does it have a battle pass?
Yeah.
No one knows. Or Genshin Impact has a battle pass, and that literally just gives you materials. Again, I pay for that one because it's such a good deal on there, because at the very end you get some currency and you're getting a much better rate for the currency. But I'm guilty as much as anyone else of
100%. That's the gaming world, isn't it?
Right.
But it's
there's so many ridiculous battle passes.
There's no other measure of customer attention retainment. That's how they measure how much someone is engaging with the product now, and that's where the money is. It's the longer that we can get them to keep playing our product,
For sure.
the more
what
money.
is D4's battle pass gonna do? Because they also they don't currently have it, but they've if you bought the deluxe version, you get their battle pass for the first season. Like, is that just going to be for skins?
No
I
idea.
assume.
I would assume. I mean, what
What
else?
else
What
would you
else would you
get?
add to Diablo? Yeah, I could imagine.
Yeah, like skins and like I guess like is it legendary weapons? I'm guessing. Is it legendary the highest? I can't remember.
Well, uniques are the highest, but
Mm.
I can't see them selling like gear that's going to enhance your character.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Because in a way, they do kind of consider. Well, I mean, it is a PvP game. They have PvP in the game. Like, they're
Yeah.
not gonna they're not gonna make the mistake of, letting people buy power, right? Like,
Mhm.
it's got to be cosmetic stuff.
We'll see.
Like, I think they're pushing it with like there's ways to like I think there's ways to slightly buy XP boost.
Mm.
And I think that's pushing it. Like, people are gonna be like, dude, you're selling XP boost in a game that's about like having like they literally had the thing that they did that really had shots fired on it was like they had two versions of the game, right? And the one version was like $10 more, but you got early access.
Yeah.
But people who paid for that game, like they had a race going on from the start of the launch of the game where
Mhm.
it was the first 1,000 people to
Yeah.
level 100 and hardcore got their name engraved on the statue in front of their offices. So like a lot of people were like, oh, I want my gamer tag to be engraved on that statue. And it's like, so I need to pay the extra $10 to possibly even compete because that's a 4-day
Yeah.
advantage.
Mm-hmm. 100%. Yeah.
And they saw the collector edition.
Yeah,
without the
yeah, the collector's edition without the game. Yeah. That's and there you go. Collector's editions of Nintendo Switches don't come with the games that they have. Like, if you buy like a Pokemon Switch, it doesn't come with the game. It just comes like it's just got Pokemon on it.
Yeah.
I mean, at least you get a
Yeah.
console at that point.
Of
But yeah,
course.
selling a collector's edition of a game without the game, that's great.
Indeed. All right. So in terms of, I don't want to say because we're hitting the hour mark, so we gotta kind of keep moving. It was a good conversation on that, and definitely it will be recorded and on various platforms. We're gonna come back to it, but we're
I don't know
gonna.
if you know, but Ty likes to hinder us from actually talking about the things.
Well, I have a thing. I gotta stick out a schedule.
I'm just playing with you.
Because remember when back in the original, we would talk for hours, and like it would be like
Oh
from
my
like 8 a.m. to like 2
It'd be
a.m.
like 6 hours long.
Yeah, and then we're just like, are we done? Are we done? This is more concise.
Like, I have to stream in the morning.
I know.
So you guys know I gotta be up for stream in like 4 hours.
I gotta be in work, like literally. But yeah, like literally, yeah. Well, we want to keep it concise and keep it moving. So there's also a section of the stream which is the AMA questions, and if you guys know what the AMA is, ask me anyway. So I slated myself for the first slot because I'm curious to ask this question to Gishi, because I know I played many games with Gishi, but we have many games that we kind of have in common. With Gishi, if you had the option to only play one game for the rest of your life, but you get all the DLC, you get all the microtransactions, you get all the stuff added to it, what game would that be?
Oh gosh,
Man.
it's quite a tough one. Yeah.
I know this is a tough one, right?
That's a hard question.
Because you play a lot of different games, so I don't know what would be your.
I do, yeah.
And
the thing, the great thing about having like varied taste of games is like you have different moods. Different games have different moods and stuff. But I must say, when I just want to just like have that kind of immersion and just being in a world that like fulfills like that design, that like kind of inspires me to like create stuff with the color, like it's got that kind of like mature setting, interesting characters, interesting world, like I think cyberpunk for me It's got to be, but I think an honor. I don't know. That is a really tough question because it's
You want
like,
an honorable mention? What would be your second one then? If you want a second one.
yeah, like if I could bring like a game back, because I feel like this game had it was like a nice time. It came out like at the perfect time, and it's like a nice nostalgia nugget of a game. And I just feel like games need to go back to kind of this purity of what it's about. It's making games for fun, like Time Splitters 2.
I remember you talking about this, yeah.
Yes. I just feel like whenever I remember playing Time Splitters 2, it's just like, it was just fun with your friends. You know, you had like the multi-tap, you know, you had 4 people looking at the screen. You didn't have microtransactions. You were trying to shoot a monkey that was like a Robocop. It had like a banana gun in his thing. You know, it was just like silly, goofy, and it was just like good fun. And I just feel like we just need to get back to that, because I feel like it's all about the money at the moment.
It
We
is.
just need to get back to the fun.
You heard it's going to be the modern video game crash will be, because Gishi and everyone on the podcast today said microtransactions and all the money the games are trying to milk out
I
us
can
today.
feel it.
It's coming.
I feel like it's
common.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's a good question.
Good
Yeah.
question. Purpose, you have I thought that piqued your interest too. Did you have one that you would be stuck playing if you had to be?
Man, that's so hard. Like, I've always said like probably Final Fantasy 7. But like I don't know if it would ever get boring. Like, it's just such a hard question. Like, the reasonable response to me is like, don't pick like your favorite game just because you know, like pick something like Minecraft, because there's so many different games in Minecraft, like stuff like that. And it's like, but at the same time, like, I just get in moods for Minecraft, right? Like, I don't like want to play it all the time, and so I don't know. It would probably be an older game. It would probably be something from the PlayStation or Super Nintendo. Metal Gear Solid, maybe. Could be it. I don't know. It's one of those. It's probably Metal Gear Solid or Final Fantasy 7. I'd have to think a lot harder on it. It's a tough.
I know it's a very tough question, because like would you get bored of playing this game over and over again? Because I think everyone does have moods. Moods in the current games that they're kind of like playing, focusing on right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't even know. Like, I even thought of it myself as like, I have like current games that I'm kind of like, because of also Gishi and like we share this in common. We play a variety of games, so we're never like stuck on one game. Because for that same reason, we don't want to get bored on one game. But like, if I had something, okay, well, if I had to pick something to be expansive, that I would get all the DLC content coming out. So like, and then would have to be The Sims. For some reason, I feel like, because like The Sims would never get bored. You could probably figure out a scenario in The Sims and then just control the characters to do that particular scenario. And they get bored, you think of something new, you put that in there. So I think having like an aspect of control, be able to dictate the story, then I would not get bored if I was stuck playing. But probably The Sims 4, if I had to narrow it down, because there are many Sims versions out there. That would be my pick. But I guess it's just for the fact that like it's like one of those where you can just pick the narrative and go. And then if they had expansion, because like they had I stopped playing it for a while, but they had like a Star Wars expansion. So in The Sims, so like you can put anything into The Sims apparently, and it would pick up and go for it. But all right, so that's the AMA. The next topic was in the news, and just to reiterate, those five souls. I know it's not. It's just like, I think just the news story from it unfolding. I know people said I don't know, but just unfolding. I don't want to focus on what actually happened, because we can go back and forth and be like, what actually happened. But like the media reporting on it, it was so like, I think everyone was like, because like I scrolled Twitter like when it was after, and like there was like memes after memes after memes, and like what was the fascination of that? Like, did you guys get stuck in that rabbit hole of what happened? And like, it's just the fact that if you didn't, then that's fine. We can move on from that. But like, I feel like it's interesting to see that people were just sort of focusing on, well, it's a sub or 5 people that probably were really rich got down and then we lost contact with. But then, why was that such a like a big news thing? And I guess because it involved the Titanic. I don't know. Do you guys have any thoughts on why it was such a big thing in the news that week?
I don't know why.
Yeah, mm.
What? Go ahead. Go ahead.
No. I was just gearing up to something. You go, Purpose.
I also I don't have any idea why people gravitated toward it. Whether maybe it was just the name Titanic that stuck with people or what there. But like I found it very interesting, like watching it all unfold, especially seeing like things like, you know, down to like James Cameron doing interviews talking about it where he's just like, you know, I tried to tell them not to do this. Like, why did they do this? Like, I knew immediately when they lost, you know, whenever they lost
Communications and navigation
and
both
like,
at one time.
yeah, like it was just it was such a strange story to me. And like my question was always like, how was it allowed to happen?
Right.
Like there has to be some amount of regulations here that were broken, which come to find out apparently because they were using some sort of like early tech or something that's not regulated, that made it so that it wasn't regulated. I don't know, like it's just so weird and such a strange story. And to see how fast it went from like
viral like overnight.
Yeah, it went from like everyone talking about the actual story to everyone just making fun of people who, you know, clearly, you know, aren't here anymore. It was just like so like I understand people are like, well, they don't deserve sensitivity or whatever, but I just don't get that. Like regardless of how ignorant or how, you know, how they like, how did you think that this was gonna work? Like regardless of that, like still show some dignity and respect, right? Like this is kind of, I don't know, it was a rough topic. You know how many people were making jokes about it so quickly, and it makes sense to me.
I didn't bring I didn't bring it up. It was like literally like front page news, and it was like 5 people probably lost their lives. But then like even the media reporting, like you can go into that, like I feel like because like I don't know if it was a slow news week or something, but like it seemed like they kind of like they have this amount of air left. You hear banging, like it kept getting stretched out like for the whole week, and then by the time the 96-hour mark was up, they're like the news report came out like saying, hey, you know, like wreckage was found, and then like just like I don't know, the reporting on this just seemed like it got stretched and milked for its all it's worth, and it was just like we all disregard like the fact that there were even some source I saw like literally if they lost communication and navigation, which is like catastrophic in itself, then you know that was probably it. And then but there's like, oh my god, there's so much news just span around it. It just seemed like it was so out of control. Like, oh, Gishi, yes sir.
This is an interesting one because the kind of bits of news that I got from people that were like proper in it. Like I'd get it from work, colleagues kind of going, oh, the submarine. And the reason why I kind of like I had this, I literally now all I use Twitter for is to kind of like tell people when I'm live, because I had this kind of like really rubbish experience where I kind of said to this, I was like, I need to kind of just really step back from this platform because it's like people forget how to treat people, and like there isn't kind of like that kind of basically what happened was there was this it was so vivid, like it was like couple of weeks ago, maybe a couple of months ago now, actually, because it's been a while since I used Twitter properly. But there was a news story about a dad who got stabbed in a Starbucks in front of his daughter and his wife, right? And this is me. This is like 11 p.m. I'm about to go to sleep, and like it was like a tweet, and I just clicked on the tweet, and literally the first thing was a video of someone taking a selfie whilst the dad was like bleeding out behind him. That was like the first video, like right at the top of this thing, and I'm like, are we just like, there's just, I just kind of had this really surreal moment. I was just like, this is, I need to step back from this, because like we talk about, like on the news, it's like they care more about the fact that it's headlines, but they forget that it's like people.
Yeah.
These are actual people, and we need to be like respectful of the fact that, like, they could have lost their lives. Like it's like, what, like, why are you telling us how much air they have left? Why are you counting it down like that? Like, what's going to happen at the end? Oh, they're dead now. It's just like, that's not, they're still people. Would you like your, I don't know, man. It's a weird one. I've got a lot of thoughts on it. And
no, I found that to be the strangest thing, to make a bot that just did a countdown on Twitter. Countdown until what is inevitably 5 people's deaths. And like and like how many people were just like following it and being like, oh yeah, they got this much time till they die. Like that is to, like, you're absolutely right. They're humans. Like where are we at in society that this is acceptable behavior?
Some Black Mirror
so
stuff.
Weird.
Basically.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's all like on the fact of social media and the way it's been playing a role in our lives.
Yeah.
It's literally like views, like who gets the most views, and like you capitalize on something. Like I even might have to stop doing this, but I was like, every time I go online, I was like, before I start stream or after, like while I'm like in the little early part where I'm like looking at Twitter, I'm like, I look at Twitter and I was like, all right, someone hashtag Putin and cats in the same thing, because Putin was trending at the time, and I have no idea what he was trending for, and I just clicked on this and like got sucked into a void of cat videos. I'm like, why, like why does social media exist? But then like you get news from like all other avenues. Like I stopped watching like the actual like news on TV, and now like you consume content from like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram a lot faster. And like sometimes half of that could be wrong, and you never know, because no one goes back and check and like, oh, I still saw it here, I read it, and it's like it's on the internet per se. And is it 100% accurate? It might not be. Is it sent to get someone views? Maybe it is, but yeah, I think we got into the point where we're just getting like it's overwhelmed.
And like you hit the nail on the head there, where you said, like we're getting news from places that are just like posting unverified things, or they're just like not really. But then you turn around and it's like, but also I really don't want to watch the news that's on TV either, because most of that is just like bias and like, I hate to use the term, but fake. Like they're just making it whatever they want it to be, instead of just giving us the facts. Like, they have to put the political spin on everything, and they can't let people just know what's going on and then let people draw their conclusion from what is there.
Yeah.
Like, so weird. We're in such a strange time.
And then it's stuff like the, as like devastating as the whole sub thing kind of happens, you get these stories, right? And then there's like this massive lens that focuses on this one story, and whenever stuff like that happens, I always feel like, what are they trying to distract us from? Because there's obviously more stuff going on in the world. Like, I know this is bad, I get that. I'm not saying like what's happening or what happened with them isn't story worthy, but it's like you get those stories and it's like a big spotlight on this one thing, and it's like, what about, is there anything else kind of going on, like, I don't know, in I don't know, in the Philippines, like, or in Alaska, like, I don't know, do you know what I mean? It's like there's other things.
Absolutely. And like there have been many cases, and I can't think of one right off, but like they're countless, where something big happens that's reported on like nonstop, like you're talking about, but there was something else that really should have been bigger that's just not talked about at all. They just like they're just trying to use the other big story to cover up this huge thing. Like, it's just so weird. It's such a strange place we're in right now.
That's true. Wasn't there a movie on that? I forget what it was called. It was like, oh my god, so it might tell me what it was. It was like some presidential movie where something was happening in the government, but then they declared war, and then they were just like covering that as the big story, and then like whatever was going on the side was kind of like not the main focus, and everyone was focused on. But I have to look it up later. If anyone Chad knows or have heard of that movie, let me know. But it sounds familiar on top of my head, but I don't remember what it's called. Because the concept you just explained exactly what happened in that movie. Like, they were like, alright, you know, like, there's some troubles in government. We declare war on some country out there. And, like, distracted from everything. Yeah. So, I don't know what that was. But yeah, it was an interesting time. It's interesting days. It kind of makes a lot of, like social media and how focused people are and how we rely on very news sources from very unverified places. So, like, one of those things is to keep in your mind, back of your head, where you heard next story from.
Yeah, this is I had an interesting kind of chat with my brother-in-law about social media. If you think about it, like, our relationship with like social media is still quite young. You know, we're still trying to like understand. It's like when we first got the TV, or you know, it was this whole kind of thing, and you know, now it's kind of part of our lives, and we know how to regulate how we use it, or some people do, some people don't, but we know how to regulate it. We know what it kind of does for us, you know. But for social, because it's still this thing that's ever evolving, ever changing, you know, there's like a new part that we have to relearn, and we have to kind of like train ourselves how to like deal with it. I don't think we're at that stage yet where we've kind of like, where we deal with it in the right, or we use it in the right way. Like that example that I used of the guy taking a selfie, you know, instead of calling an ambulance, that's what he thought to do first, was to like live stream this person passing away behind him. So it's kind of like, you know, we're still learning it. Like, we're still, you know, that baby kind of stage, and it's just like, yeah. It's an interesting one. I just think there's some growing and evolving that we kind of need to do until we've got our relationship with social media in a good place, where it's actually good for our health, our mental health, and actually useful.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, so we have to keep moving along. I'm going to teach you the next. Let's keep going next to the next topic. But purpose. So your chance. I know you probably didn't do the homework. Do you think of an idea for an AMA? I know you never did the homework. I know. So AMA question, maybe something to Gishi, because you never really talk to Gishi as often.
Yeah, no, I don't get to talk to anybody anymore. Let's see. I don't know.
It's interesting because I thought like AMA was like someone would ask me something. No, me ask someone else something. That's what I thought. I was like, oh, I didn't realize I have to come up with a question.
Yeah, so the way that Ty sets it up is the person gets to AMA anyone.
Yes.
Gotcha. Right. Okay. Gotcha. Okay.
Yoshi, have you played any Diablo 4?
I've not played 4. I played a lot of 3 back in the day. And I played 3 on the PS4? Yeah, I was going to say PS3. I was like, nah, it's not that old.
PS4, yeah.
And the thing that's kind of...
Yeah, what's holding you back?
Yeah, the thing that's holding me back is... I'm at that stage now where I kind of want, like, to play more stuff that's shorter. I want to play things that, like, I don't know, like, as much as I want to play Diablo, like, I think it looks amazing. It's like a great game. A lot of people have pretty much everyone that's played it like loves it. And I don't know. Maybe I'm a little bit burnt out with big games.
Backlog
Which
is
is probably
real.
why I go back to stuff like
The backlog is real. The streamer
the
backlog is real.
yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
so with that, like, I actually, this is the first game I've gotten to play outside of Genshin recently where I can really enjoy it. Because like I can just like you're talking about how long the games are, right? And it's like I get it. You know, like I'm a very busy person anymore. And it's like you just don't have the time to sit aside for this huge campaign or whatever, you know, like and so I just want for a game that I can sit down and I can play it pretty quick and be done. And it's like, so where I've been with Diablo is like my character's only level 60. Most people are like way up toward level 100 and stuff. It's like, you know, I just, whenever I have time, I'll load it up. I'll do like a couple side quests, which I think that the reason that I liked Genshin so much was you could just do a side quest and be done. You didn't like have to get sucked into this huge storyline all the time. If I do have a good, you know, couple hours, then I could always start a story quest in Genshin. And it's kind of the same with Diablo 4 here, where like I can do a side quest or two, and then I can just wash my hands of it. And then whenever I come back, it's really good about just saying, yeah, this is what this is your next portion of your story, if that's what you want to do, or just find another side quest. Like, it's very Breath of the Wild like to me, where you know there's just so much other things to do, so much to explore. And yeah, but I totally get the wanting for a shorter game. Like another game that I've been I haven't played much this month because of Diablo 4, but I have picked up, have you played Vampire Saviors?
I have not.
So it's it's really like, it's a really silly game. It's like your character, all you do is move your character and make choices. And so like your character has an auto attack that they perform on a cooldown, and the auto attack is based upon like what weapons you've picked up. And like whenever you level up, you can choose from a weapon or a piece of equipment or whatever, and you just try and see how far you can get. And
Vampire Survivors.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I think that was on Game Pass, and I did play a little bit of that. Sorry, yeah.
I enjoyed that game so much because it was just like 20 minutes and I'm done.
Yeah.
30 minutes and I'm done. Like I was just like, that's kind of cool. What happened to these games where I could just play for a couple minutes and I'm done? What happened to, you know, like I always go back to like Super Mario World, where it's just like play a level of Super Mario World and you're done. Yeah, it's great.
The days of nostalgia.
Yeah.
Where things could be finite and be finished.
2 minutes and my game's over.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Yeah. All right.
Play this on break at work.
All right. To move it on to the next segment. So I was trying to always evoke a question that kind of was like the knowledge base of the guest. So I know, Gishi, you're a graphic designer, right? So you work on
correct, yes.
Yeah, so you work on different things, and that's kind of interesting. Because I always love when you do your art streams on playing, because you kind of like go through the process of how you like design something and how you approach it. So like, do you have like particular, let's say, like things that you find very pleasing to things that maybe like impress you, to things that maybe you're like, what did they do here? Why? Like, are you that hypercritical of maybe some other people's projects, or maybe more critical of your own, or what is your process and how do you like approach things?
I feel like I'm at that stage now where I'm kind of confident in my ability to the point where I feel more comfortable to voice my opinion on stuff. Example of this was a couple of days ago. We had like kind of like a work outing. We went to did like a little gallery experience, and that it was like an immersive Dali exhibition, Salvador Dali.
Yep.
And I didn't realize how much I'm like this, but I'm quite like I like to analyze things, and I like to know how things kind of have been, how a thing kind of works, or why it's doing what it's doing. So basically, example, like we walked in, and you know how sometimes you walk into like an art gallery and there's like you get like the picture on the wall and you've got like a blurb of text next to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm standing there, I'm kind of going, I don't want to read this text because of the way it's just justified, and the font that they use doesn't work, and the way that the line breaks in the copy just makes you not want to look at it. It actually made me want to not read it,
Wow.
even though I was like there at the exhibition to like learn about this person.
Mm-hmm.
And in like recently I've realized that I prefer audio logs in games, because whenever you pick up this is a big thing in Cyberpunk, whenever you like read an email in Cyberpunk, the text goes from left to right. There's no visual, there's no like breaks in the line for you to actually ingest the information. The lines are so long that it just takes you ages to read something. But if you make a column of text narrower, you can read it quicker, and you don't get a mental fatigue as much. So it's just like things like little theories like that, like that I find like, I don't know, quite interesting. Like if I have like a website, I most likely make the page thinner so it's quicker to read rather than wider, because it takes you longer to get from left to right. And by the time I get to the right, I'm bored and I don't want to read what the text says. But if I make it narrower, I can kind of like, but yeah, just little things like that. But
can you just get everyone else to feel that way so that I can test this idea? This sounds awesome, okay? Because I'm dyslexic, and like long lines take me a long time to read. But if it's shorter, so if we could just get like maybe there needs to be like some sort of an extension that does this for me.
Yeah,
because I'm loving what I'm hearing.
Yeah, do you know what you're describing basically, or what I'm describing basically? That's user experience. So like in like kind of like web design, it's like user experience. Like, so it's not user interface, which is like what you see. It's like user experience, what you're actually doing with the thing. And when people are talking about like I'm a web designer and a UI designer. Okay, cool. But I'm also a UX designer, which is two different kind of like disciplines. So it's like UI is how it looks. UX is, you can have UX design for a cup, you know, because the experience of holding the cup and the experience of like how do you sip out of it, like how do you know, things like that. So that's a user interface or like user experience. No,
I've never thought about that. I've never thought like that there would be a difference between the UI and the UX. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I found that I prefer audio logs now, because the way that people design text logs, it just makes me not want to read it.
I skip it every time during games too, because like there's so much text. I'm like, I'm not reading this.
Yeah,
there's so much text to read. I can just ingest everything visually, because you don't have to worry about text. I already listen to like audio logs. True, that's very true.
Because you need to give your brain a chance to actually digest the information that you're looking at. But if it's like a long line, you've already forgotten what the first word was, because it was just so long ago, even though the page is just wider.
Makes you wonder if there's an extension that exists. Makes your text go this small, so you can just go read it through. Because I feel like that's a valid point for sure.
So Also on the from like a graphics designer point of view, how
Mhm.
does like the enhancements, and as some people call it AI, but you know, how are these advancements with these different systems of AI, how is that affecting like your space, or does it affect your space at all, in your
It's
opinion?
interesting because like I'm quite privileged in the sense of like the agency that I work for. We are quite. It is very forward thinking. It's very don't fear change. In fact, embrace it and make make actual teams that are their sole focus is to try and harness this and kind of use it best for us to make our work lives easier. Basically, so we've got like an internal team that just focuses on what was it, AI, AR, VR, and future tech. So it's like an internal team. That's what they're doing because of what's all the stuff that's happening with AI at the moment, and because it's kind of like a big gray area in terms of like how if you make something using AI, who owns the rights to that?
Right.
We're not incorporating it into part of our process yet, but there's already a team that's working to make a version of AI that we can then use. So instead of like us using ChatGPT for example, or like for example, we're going to have our own proprietary AI toolkit that we'll be able to use to work with. And there's like a whole thing, you know. It's like it's not. I think it's about accepting. I think it's about like, what's the word? Very accepting of change. And I don't know whether it'll be used in like projects, but it's definitely something that we're not shying away from like studying or looking into more as an agency and as individuals, to be honest. Because like within my team, there's lots of different disciplines. There's me, like the digital designer. We've got like people that do motion, copywriters, you know. So there's loads of different like disciplines within the actual team, and it's going to affect people in different ways, and might not affect some people, might affect some people more, but it's an interesting one. We're more excited than fearful,
And that's good. That is actually
Mm.
like a lot of people. I think that a lot of people are fearful of it, and I think that we should more look at it as a tool.
Yeah.
And like, when have we been afraid of tools? Most of the time we harness those tools to make things better for us as a society and as a race. So if we look at these tools for what they are, how can we use them to make things easier? In my opinion, it doesn't take away value. Instead, it adds value. You know, I think that, you know, what one of my friends at work is like, you know, there was this whenever GPT-4 beta had like the ability to use extensions, and like there was a story where a guy like made an extension that allowed GPT to interact with his crypto wallet and then interact in different ways.
Wow.
And like he basically explained to the to GPT, I want you to do these things using these parameters, and I want you to build me a company that was basically just a drop shipping company and just make me money off the money in my crypto wallet. And then like, whenever you reach X amount of dollars, I want you to sell the company for this amount of dollars because the company's worth that much. And like, I guess within like a month or so, like he took like, I think they said it was $20 in his crypto wallet, he had changed it into a drop shipping company that he turned around and sold for like 10 grand. Now,
Wow.
someone at work was like, well, if that's possible, then why doesn't everybody do it? Well, it's not if that's possible. This person did it. And why doesn't everyone do it? Because we're not thinking of how to do it. Right? We haven't embraced the tool and started to find a way to utilize the tool to do the things that he did. You know, like whenever we start really harnessing that tool and thinking outside of the box, how can I use this tool to apply to my particular space? Those are going to be the people that succeed, right? Because they're going to have an unfair, quote, unfair advantage over the rest of the industry.
Yeah. And it's interesting you say that, because I think the reason why people are not thinking about how to use the tools is because, like, how it's kind of like, if you think about it, if you see any reporting on like AI, like you're probably like 2 seconds away from hearing, oh, it's gonna affect jobs, it's gonna affect someone's job. It's very like, there's a lot of fear and scaremongering, and when you're fearful of something, why would you like think about embracing it? Like, that would be the last thing. I'm afraid of snakes. I'm never gonna hug a snake. You know what I mean? So if the news is like telling you that this thing is going to take your job away, why would you try and push your brain to thinking, okay, the thing that's going to take my job away, let me try and find a way to use that thing. It's going to take so much more like effort. But if you kind of ignore all this stuff, all this like the news reporting, or you're quite not sensitive to things like this, then you can make amazing stuff like this dude, and just like using it and making that cash money.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, like that, there won't be value in that particular use case forever. Because eventually, whenever other people figure out how to do it, then it just doesn't work anymore. So what there's the point of the whole thing isn't that everyone should be doing this. It's that if you can find a use case for it, why wouldn't you be searching for a use case, right?
Yep.
A lot of people say, oh, this is going to be so impactful for the, it's going to have such a negative impact on video game programming. I would argue that it could have very positive impact. It could decrease the cycle time needed between games. It can allow us to produce games that are more that are of the same quality faster, right? And a lot of people say, well, it's gonna, low level programmers are just not gonna exist because GPT will do it for them. And like, there's some amount of validity to that, but anytime we've ever seen a change like this, we go to the printing press, the industrialization of the world. Like, everyone was afraid, right? Like, because this is going to take our jobs, but all it ever did was create more. Like, it always creates more jobs. Who's going to be the person that interacts with GPT? You have to have someone to interact with them.
Exactly.
A lot of people
you need input.
in my space, I work as a mechanic in a factory, and so in that factory, everybody's like, well, we have to have people to put the parts into the boxes. And we started we've started to put robots in place and stuff that put parts in the robots, and they're like, oh, you're gonna eliminate people's jobs. It's like, no, we're hiring more people than we've ever hired before. We have to take care of those robots. We have to, that has increased production here, so down the line we need more people. And it just shifts shifts workloads, and
Yep.
but it makes it overall more productive for us. So I think that as a society, as we learn from these AIs and how to use them better, it could definitely enhance our experience. And I just think that it's cool that, you know, to hear what different um what different career paths and stuff, like how people are using it differently.
Oh yeah.
You know, like, I think that that's just cool. It always makes me smile to hear what other people are doing with it. And, you know, I'm always kind of like thinking, well, you know, how could we use this? How could we use this at work? Like, because really our stuff's very physical. You know, there's a lot of physical labor there. And so, you know, a lot of people will say, well, there's not really much you could do with it. But I would argue that there are some things. Like, we're going through and we're updating, you know, this PLC program. Well, I think that GPT can write, you know, normal programs. Then I think that there's got to be a way to make GPT learn to program for like a PLC. It's not that different. And then that could at least give you a base, so you're not writing all that program yourself. You have a base that you then go back and you look through and you find, you know, the inaccuracies and the things that need changed, and you change it. And we just got to a better, more efficient PLC program a lot faster. And does it eliminate anybody's jobs? No, you still have to have the people there that are gonna test it and go through, and there's just so many other things that have to be done there. So I just think it's really interesting, something that I would like to look at and think about.
Yeah, definitely. It's just like, just think of it like a really smart calculator. Like it's like
it's a calculator that can understand my questions.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you can tell it to make you like it's just it's a tool basically.
Have you, so don't talk about ChatGPT, have you looked into or seen, so I've seen a lot of people, I guess, from like Photoshop, where they take that little like square and say like put trees,
generative fill.
Generative fill, So like, have you come across that in your field, and like it's something people have been using more often?
Definitely. Definitely, like, because again, like we are quite open, and we're curious. We are kind of excited about it. Like, as in, I mean, like one of my colleagues are basically very similar. We've got this kind of curiosity about kind of life and design and how things work. So and we literally sit next to each other. We work next to each other, and he managed to get onto the Photoshop beta. There's like a beta Photoshop version that you could have downloaded, and you can kind of like play around with it. And you know, when we've got a bit of downtime, you just like play around and just see like what you can do. You literally draw a square, add cat here, adds a cat, and then you can change the different cats, because it's smart enough to see what's around the image to put the thing in there, but it's not smart enough to put the cat in as its own layer. I don't know how to explain it. So you see how I'm sat here, right? I'm sat here, you can see my shoulders and my head and stuff, and the background is blurry. So with generative fill, like if you'd put me as like the layer, it would put in the blurry background as part of the layer rather than me on a separate thing cut out. So if you were to move me over here, it would move everything else in the background, so it wouldn't look clean. But if you got a designer to do it, I would cut me out, have me as a transparent PNG with no background, so you could move me anywhere in the image. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah. So it's like so there are limitations. It is smart, but then you still need people to use it that know what they're doing.
Not eliminating jobs yet.
Because I've actually used GIMP. but if
Yeah.
I hadn't used GIMP, I might not have understood this.
Oh, there you go. Oh, there you go. But yeah, like, yeah, they're now eliminating, the need for jobs. So still, you can do regenerative fill, but the graphic designer has to still go in and, get
Okay,
the final
so
take on it.
so for those of us who aren't in that space,
Hmm.
what exactly do you mean by generative fill? Are we just saying like the background fill, or are we saying like is there something else to this?
So it's like I don't know how technically it works, but basically, let's say you draw, if you selected all the blurriness that's in my background there, right?
Yeah.
And then there's a window that comes up, and you type in what you wanted to do, like add in forest,
Okay.
and then it would look at the space, it would analyze where the subject is, as in me. It would look at the space that it has, and it would fill, like literally fill the image with what you've typed in.
Okay.
Yeah, it's wild what it can do. You can literally take like an eye, like all you'd have is an eye, and you just say generate the rest of the face, and it would generate the rest of the person based on like one little thing. Yeah.
I saw
that is well, wow.
Yeah, I saw one example just to make it like very simple. Like this person was doing like a YouTube thumbnail where it's like they're talking about a vacuum cleaner, and like they say they put a little script right in front of the vacuum cleaner, say generate a mess, and it would take that space, put something in there that was a mess. Would it look right? Would it look like it infected? Like it did its best to put in there, but then there's some points where you can look at it and be like, that is a lot, but would that actually be something that would be, like for the context of a vacuum cleaner, something that would be on the floor that the vacuum cleaner would vacuum up. So like, there's always that characteristic of like, like how good regenerative fill can be, and if it's enough to like, to fool the eye into thinking like, oh yeah, that's actually there. Where
Yeah,
like
you
the
still
graphic-
need a human
yeah.
to give it
Yeah.
that human touch, because the computer will do exactly what you've told it to do, and it hasn't got the nuance to kind of realize that what you meant was a few crumbs or some dust on the floor,
Yeah,
which is what a vacuum would be able to vacuum up, not like Lego bricks and
Yeah.
I don't know, a rubber duck.
exactly something like that.
But I think that that's also what these large language models, right? Like I think that that's also part of the cool things with them is like now they're developing to like understand context. Like you when you're talking to it, like no, I meant something like this. Can we maybe do this maybe from this different perspective and things like that, and like those models being able to go, oh yeah, okay, so they are meaning more like this and not this other stuff, and like that's where I think that like we say, oh well, jobs are going to be eliminated. I think that absolutely not. Now we need people that understand how to
Yeah.
talk to the language models and get it to the place we want it to go, like
Yeah.
because it from the get-go it's kind of an infant, right? It's of the understanding of only these sets of parameters. With the help of a human, you can get it to these are the parameters I want, and I just think it's so fascinating to me.
All right. In terms of moving on, now the point comes to Fakishi. Do you have any kind of AMA question that you are curious about?
What's the most valued piece of advice someone's given you that you occasionally kind of come back to and kind of go, yeah, that was really useful advice. Thanks, that person.
Except, oh, I guess it's the thing. Well, hard to think about. The first thing popped in my head is usually, take things one day at a time. I feel like it's valuable because, like, I feel like for everyone, when you reach a problem, I always tend to overanalyze the problem and come up with any various number of scenarios, and I think the most important thing sometimes is that you can't attack every single scenario in one day. Even though you want to be able to finish it in one day and get it done, you have to slow down and take it one day at a time. Like you only can do maybe something, like right now to get that done, but then you have to wait a couple of days before you can like finish it, or wait a couple days so you get someone else's opinion and something. And like I think just like overanalyzing, which is a lot of people's fault, but just like trying to speed rush to the goal. Like the goal can never always be the next day. It could be months down the line, it could be weeks, it could be hours. Like you just have to like take it as much as you can and remain so that you can't solve everything in one day, and like one day at a time, and usually just like whatever you can combat and go from there. Which I feel like is sticks in my head as a very important piece that a lot of people tend to forget. Because like they always want to try to solve things like instantly. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's my thoughts. Purpose, do you have any sage wisdom over there?
I do. This comes from a person who I work with very closely, and have worked with very closely since my career changed to be in the maintenance field. We came into the maintenance field at the same time, coming from very different backgrounds, but we both had worked at this company, and we were working as operators of the equipment that we run there. And during my time, I was there a little bit longer than he was, and I worked with him a whole lot, helped him figure out, how the machines worked and things. So there came an opportunity where they started an apprenticeship program to get into the maintenance field and our maintenance department. And they were going to have two people were able to be in the program. And I'm a person that has kind of, whenever it comes to a lot of things, I'm not very self-confident. So whenever the jobs came up, he kind of threatened me. We were really good friends at the time, and he called me up one day and he just said, look, I think that you would be good for this position. You should try for it. I'm going to try for it. And you and I will get the position. And I want you to be the person that's working with me. You've been with me since the beginning, and I want to keep working with you. If you don't, this was the threat, was if you don't go out for it, I'm just going to find another job, because I don't want to work with anybody else. And I feel stuck where we're at right now. So I listened to him, and we went. And as we progressed through this maintenance program, it was like they never said, they never referred to us as like different people. It was just those two, right? So if I was included, he was always included, and if he was included, I was always included within the package deal, was kind of the way it was. And because it was always like that, we were like 2 years into the program, and he's really good at our job. And I don't come from he comes from a background where he worked on stuff a lot and things. I didn't come from that background. I worked on computers a lot. So applying that to heavy machinery is just not there. But I was okay at it. And I knew that I was okay at it, but I always knew he was better at it. And I would always be very critical of myself for that. And I, whenever people would say, hey, so and so, you guys are going to work on this, and I would always just feel like the reason that they were having us work on it was because of him, not because of me. I was just kind of like the tag along. And there was a point where like I was just so down on myself, and this is when he gave me the advice. He said, look, you act like you're always in my shadow. He said, but we're walking beside each other. He's like, I'm in your shadow whenever we're dealing with these things. You're in my shadow when we're dealing with these things, and that's what makes us a good team, because you're better at a lot of things than you give yourself credit for, and you have your own specializations that I have no idea about. He's like, I learn from you all the time, and the only person that you ever compare yourself to is me, and you need to stop comparing yourself to anyone else. That was his advice, was stop comparing yourself to just those people around you, and start examining yourself and your strengths and your weaknesses, because as long as you're comparing yourself to someone else, you're always going to find someone better.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, 100%.
And so why not give up on trying to be better than everyone else and start working on how to be the best version of yourself? And that's, he didn't quite go as that far, but I realized that's where he was wanting me to get, was just be the best you. There's nothing more that you can do than be the best you. And since he gave me that advice, it's just like, it like opened up a whole new world to you, like where like, if your boss says, hey, I want you to do this, I'll do my best on that. I'm not really suited for it, but I'll do my best, and I'll learn something. But anytime my boss says, because of this, it's like I'm more apt to express I'm good at this or I'm good at that. And like, it's just made me much more valuable, because my boss knows, hey, he's good at that, and I can send him to go do that, and it's going to get done, and it's going to get done well. So always try to be the best version of yourself. That would be the advice that I think was given to me, that was the most important and best advice I've been given.
Nice. Did you have any sage wisdom also you can share, or that you been given?
Yeah, I mean, I worked with when I worked in retail. I think these two bits of advice kind of came at very similar times. I think I was like, I'd finished my course, like finished studying, I'd graduated, and I started working full time. And before that, when I was studying, I was working part time, and I hadn't really like factored in how important it is to like take breaks during the year, like booking time off just for the sake of actually resting, not for doing stuff. Because I always think of like booking time off as in like you're going to do something. So then I got to a point where I think it had been months. It had been a long time since I'd had any time off, and my manager at the time came up to me from a place of like care, not from a place of. Yeah, this is when I had like lots of respect for her, and I'm still close to her to this day. Actually, she said, "Oh, when was the last time you were off? Like you need to take kind of like you see." Well, she didn't say you look tired, but she was basically saying like you're tired. Like we can tell that you're tired. But I was like, in my head, I was like, I'm fine. Like, but I just kind of was on this hamster wheel for so long that I didn't realize how tired I was. And she was like, you know what? Do you take the rest of the week off? Like, we're gonna book you some annual leave. Like, you just need to rest, take care of yourself, and it's important to do that. And that was like my first kind of like big life lesson of like taking care of yourself so you can actually do your job better.
Yep.
And not burn out and stuff. And yeah, I mean, like that was one really good bit of advice. And me, I like my honorable mentions. one of my lecturers back at uni.
Right.
He says to me, he goes, I remember this so vividly because he was like a feedback session, and when you're at uni, I don't know, as a designer, you have a little bit of an ego. I think we all do. Like, you kind of think like everything you make is amazing, and you're so close to the work, like you don't see how you need to detach from it a little bit, not put so much of yourself in it. But I remember him kind of going to me, yeah, no, I like it. I like the work. It looks nice, but what's the point? What's the point of it? Like, you know how to make things look good, but what's the point of it? And I remember just kind of thinking, why are you such a dick? Like, why can't you just give me useful feedback? But then, and I always used to think he was a really arrogant, like, individual. But then starting to work in the industry is different to when you're studying it, because it's not always about making things look good. Things need to have a function and a use and a reason. And sometimes they don't look good, but they fulfill their function. And it kind of made me realize, that's what he was trying to get me to realize. So then I sent him a message. This was like years after I'd graduated, kind of going, I really appreciate all the help that you gave me when I was at uni. I hope you're well. Thank you very much. And he was like, oh, cool. Yeah, thanks. So yeah.
Nice. That makes sense. Yeah, sure. Alright, so next section is usually the Genshin segment, but do I need to go and purpose and just rename it to Diablo? Has that been your focus recently? Like,
yeah, so yeah, that's the thing I was gonna say is this section's gonna be really short. I did my Genshin dailies and then I logged into Diablo. So D4, like I said, I haven't gotten a ton of time because I have been busy with classes 2 nights a week. So like my Monday and Wednesdays suck so bad. I wake up at 6 in the morning. I wake up at 5 in the morning and I start work at 6 in the morning. And then I get off work at 4 and class starts at 4:30 and then doesn't let out until 9. So I'm literally gone from the house from 5:30 until 9 on Mondays and Wednesdays. So I really just don't have time to do anything on those days. But on the other days, I have been playing some Diablo. I started a Necromancer to begin with, and I'm going to call it, we're going to wait. We're going to wait on that because they got some improvements that need to be done there, in my opinion.
Okay.
I'm one of those that I really like to play like the minion builds because they're kind of brain dead and you don't have to really you have to play, but you don't have to play, like your minions do a lot of the work for you. They can't do that in this game. You have to be playing 100% of the time. And so we're going to stay away from that class because it's just very involved. So I instead rolled a barbarian. I'm level 60 on the barbarian, and we are playing Whirlwind. We are spinning to win, and he's doing pretty well. The early game with barbarian before, I don't know how after they did this big patch how it is, but whenever I was playing through the leveling experience, not so great. But it was worth the slog at the beginning because now, like the whole podcast, I've just been, able to talk and play a game at the same time without any worries. Like
this is why purpose is the wrong video because you never know what he's doing. Off video.
Yeah, you didn't know this whole time. I've been playing D4. You just
there you go. There you go.
But I mean, there's not much to like. There's not much thinking that you have to do in it. So, like, that's great. I've enjoyed the game quite a bit.
Is it similar to Genshin at all? I'm just curious.
No, it's not the same. Diablo is much more just like, gearing. Like Genshin is more about like leveling your characters and then just like exploring and like as far as combat's concerned, it's kind of like, well, you just learn what rotation you're doing, and then you're just doing a rotation. Whereas Diablo's like up until you're like later in the game, a lot of it is just like paying attention to your gear drops, because if you get upgrades to your gear, you need to be equipping it pretty quickly so that you can kind of keep, going through endless amounts of enemies. There's
Okay.
like, to the credit of Blizzard, I'm gonna say that this is probably their best story that they've had for a Diablo game, in my opinion. That being said, how many people actually paid attention to the best story? That's probably a much lower number.
Yeah.
Like, I know I
Yeah.
watched some streamers like that were talking about like their experience, and I really actually didn't like. I skipped every cutscene. I skipped every bit of dialogue that it allowed me to skip. I did not pay any attention. I couldn't care less about anything going on. I just want to kill monsters. And I get that. Like, sometimes we just want to kill monsters, but boy, do they ever have a very good story in this game. And I think that anyone who's skipping the story is doing themselves a disservice. But that being said, like, I still get it. Like, there are many ARPGs that I play that it's like, I'm sorry, ARPGs don't normally have a good story. I'm not listening to your story. I'm just going to play this fun game. So
Yeah.
but that's not D4. D4, the story is pretty good. The combat is a lot more involved than the other installments of the game, which I actually have found to be kind of a treat. That being said, a lot of people are a little upset about it because it does mean whenever you have more involved combat, most of the time that means the enemies are harder and there's less of them. And like, whenever you do get to that point where like you're just rolling through everything, you don't want there to be less enemies that are harder, because they're not hard at all. You're just rolling over all of them. So you just want as many enemies on the screen as they can fit. And so, there's some criticisms of the game out there, and I understand the criticisms. I've played in the genre since Diablo 1. I played on the PlayStation, and I understand the criticisms. I just think that people need to give the game a chance for what it is, because it is its own game, even though it does fit in a genre. And there are improvements that need to be made, but I also think that the decisions that were made weren't necessarily to make an unfun game. It was actually to make a game that was more, actually had a story. Like, how many times do people complain that games don't have stories? You give them a story and then they skip it. So, yeah, I've quite thoroughly enjoyed it, though.
That's good. That's very good. All right, so we're gonna kind of
And I can't wait until season 1 starts. It's supposed to, I bet it's been announced, and I didn't know because they said they were announcing it by the end of the week. They're going to have another dev update thing. That's going to be cool. And I'm looking forward to all these changes that they got coming in the pipeline, because it will improve the gameplay experience. Also, one other thing that I think, I know one other major content creator kind of talked about, I think it was Gold talked about it a little bit. I think it was him, but so there were complaints about so whenever you get to the later game, they have something called a nightmare dungeon. And so throughout the game, there's dungeons on the map, and they do nightmare dungeons, which are supposed to be like the end game. Like, you go into the dungeon, it's random, it's got different modifiers to make it harder, blah, blah, blah. You get better gear there, But so the problem with it was like, they're kind of off in their own areas. So you have to like ride your horse to go and get them, and go and do them and stuff. And people are like, well, in your other games, you just open a portal to them, and then we go into them, and we do them, and we don't have to travel anywhere. We don't have to take that time. You're just wasting my time.
Right.
The criticism, like that criticism prompted them in this update that they did last week to allow you, when you open a nightmare dungeon, that it'll let you teleport to the dungeon. And everyone cheered for it, and I was like, I totally understand the cheer, but here's my thing. They made a design decision to have you ride your horse or do whatever to get to that dungeon for a reason. And that reason was like to have you do side quests or do other things on the way there. And it was supposed to be like, something else than just chain running, like,
Yeah.
done with this one,
Mhm.
start the next one.
Yeah, quick level, the quick,
It
easy
take
answer.
a little bit of the monotony out of it, and I think that they did it. Like, my personal opinion is this is an okay way to fix the complaints of the community, but I think that in the long run, it's going to go completely against what their design decision was in the first place. And I personally think that they should have made the content that you engage with on your way to the dungeon you're going to more interesting. Because if they do that, then I want to stop for the side quest. I want to get this stuff, and I'm still seeing the world that they put so much time and effort into, which I think was the point in the first place. And the fact that they just gave me a teleport button now, like, sure, everyone can say, yeah, well, you can still ride there if you want to, idiot. Like, but I think that it's more of the point of, if that was the design decision that they made, if they would have said, we're going to make more events that happen on the way that are more rewarding, stuff like that, I would have stood beside them and said, yeah, totally. Like, I acknowledge every complaint because I had the same complaint, and I actually think that I asked for this change. But like, not like, in my head, I asked for the change. Why don't they just give me a portal? But after they implemented, I was just like, maybe that wasn't what I wanted. Maybe what I wanted was just better content on the way to the dungeon, because it does take a little bit away from the game. And I do feel like they did such a good job on this world. And so if they would have made it just more, like, a bit more engaging and more rewarding, that I don't think anybody would have cared about riding their horses or even walking to the nightmare dungeon. Some of them were easier to get to anyway. Some of them literally had waypoints right beside them anyway, so it was like not a big deal. But I don't know. I think that the game is super fun, and there are criticisms. I agree with some, I disagree with some, and that's what gaming's all about, being able to agree and disagree and still have fun with our games.
And still be a nice person to everyone else.
Yes.
Exactly.
And not attack people just because they have a differing opinion.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes.
All right, we're gonna kind of wrap this up because Gishi is 5 hours ahead, so it's getting late over there.
Oh.
So I want to wrap this up. So we'll do a kind of quick fire of what is making you giddy this week. I'll try to make you happy or giddy. Anything that occurred to you that was exciting or made you happy. Gishi, what is your event this week?
Yes, something that made me happy this week. Something that made me happy this week. I mean, it kind of goes back to what I mentioned earlier about the going to that exhibition. It was like an immersive experience. So there was like a VR kind of section in it. So there was a bit where you put on I think it's the newest HTC wireless VR. I forgot what it was called. I asked the guy and he told me, but I've forgotten it. But it was like, the novelty of VR now is kind of not lost on me, because I've got my own like kit and I dabble from VR from time to time. But one of my colleagues, it was the first time she'd used it, and she was just like, wow, like she's like, oh wow, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And like because I'm you know, I know like how to navigate in the space, and you know, there's a bit where so you put the VR thing in and you're literally like in a rectangular room, but they mapped it where you can hold the bar on the side of the room to kind of guide you around if you're not really proficient with VR. So you could like hold onto the side and walk around, and because you're in VR, the things would change in the space. And so there was a bit where there was like a giant candle kind of came out of the ground, and obviously it's not there, it's in VR. So then I walked into the candle, and because I know like, you know, that everyone can kind of see, I was doing this thing where I was like popping my head out of the candle, and it looked like I was just like kind of hovering and then kind of moving up and down, so it looked like a disembodied head just kind of just like floating up and down and like in and out of the candle. And it's just like stuff like that, just kind of bringing joy to like the people that hadn't really experienced VR, and then them taking it off and being like, oh my god, that was amazing. So it was just like, yeah, I guess that if I was to say what that was, it's like watching someone experience something that you enjoy for the first time.
Interesting. Exactly.
Yeah.
Purpose? Do you have something this week?
Can I ask a question about his thing?
Okay, real fast. So go ahead.
Okay. Has anyone seen any of like the new Oculus? Have you seen any reports or anything on that? Because that sounds pretty cool.
What, the Quest 3?
Yeah, the
Meta Quest 3. Yeah. I quite
Can you elaborate a little
quite
more?
like the look
for
of it.
Everybody? Or what's so special about the new VR? Is this like the feel of it, or?
It's lighter. It's a lot lighter, and it's got like a better processor than the 2.
Oh, like the headset, so the actual thing is not like
the actual
bulky?
headset itself.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's physically like not as deep, so it won't be as heavy front heavy on your face.
Gotcha.
I think it's got full color pass through.
Oh,
So when you do the pass through thing and you look around, it's full color. I don't know about how much it's going to be price wise. Probably around the same price as the 2, maybe a little bit more expensive.
Okay.
I believe that they said it was like $400 to $500. So
which is about right.
Kind of close, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't actually seen it. I've only heard it talked about, and like I was listening to the Lex Friedman podcast, and they were talking about it on there, and listening to them talk about it, and like the actual changes, like of what the fidelity of the screen is better, and like they were talking about like some of the things that they're doing with it, that like it's doing, like they had like you're in your room, but like there's like a zombie game they were playing, and it like the room didn't have windows, so it just put windows on the wall for you, and like then like the zombies would come climbing in at you, you know, in your house, and like you're shooting zombies and stuff, and I'm just like, no, that sounds cool though. Like I've played like the roller coaster, and I've done the stuff on the Quest 2, but that actually sounds like this is where I was wanting to go with this. Like because it's like, it's almost like they took like the idea of AR and then kind of mixed it with VR, right?
Sounds like that, yeah.
Where you're in a mixture of it, and like that just sounds so cool to me. Like some of those things just sound really neat. I own a Quest 2. I haven't done a ton with it. Like it's kind of just like a Beat Saber player, but
Beat Saber, yeah.
But I definitely like it. The Quest 3 sounds like I could want to play other games on that.
There you go. There you go. Yeah.
Nice.
Neat.
That's very cool.
But for my what is making you giddy, I haven't used this one before, and some people might feel like it's a little cop out, but actually the time to talk on the podcast this week, really, the conversation with you all this week has been really, really cool, and
because this guy
conversation.
right here. This corner.
What's that?
I'm just pointing at Gishi. Gishi.
Yeah. I mean, for real, like the conversation with Gishi, I really like. We hit some really some cool topics that I don't really get to talk to about people about a whole lot, and stuff that interests me. Like, even though I'm not as knowledgeable about some of it, like just the to get other people's feeling on it, and you know, like I said, I'm not as knowledgeable, but it's super interesting to me, and like just to hear other people's takes just really made me happy, made me smile as we were going through and talking about some of the things. So
I told him a month ago that you were coming on, and Purpose was like, he was excited, I think. Because he's like, Gishi's coming on, because we always talked about Gishi. We never had a chance to have like a conversation with you, so it's always fun.
Hey, there you go. I think it is good. I think it's definitely a good idea to like, because even the whole all the stuff that we're talking about, like with Kick and like how Purpose, you brought up like a whole different perspective on stuff. Made me think about like, you know, the hot, because I did see the hot tub streamers and I was like, this is why is this weird? Like, I haven't seen a hot tub stream in ages. But then it's like the way that you kind of said it, I was like, oh yeah, like, you know, you're making me kind of think about it's good to have conversations because it pushes you out of your box of like how your brain kind of processes stuff, and you see things from a different perspective. So it's good.
You know, I actually like talking to you about it, like I knew that they had them on Kick, and it didn't even occur to me that like the changes that were like that Twitch made as a result of the outrage from the community on Twitch. Like I totally didn't realize, like it never occurred to me that they took hot tub streams off front page. They did, but it just never occurred to me. And like it is very much like conversation can bring so much enlightenment to people. Like we don't have like disagreeing on things is fine, and it's good as long as we can be open and listen, and like a new viewpoint is always a good thing. Like by no means whenever I'm talking about the whole, like I don't have a horse in the race whenever it comes to Kick and Twitch. So like for me, I kind of felt like coming in, I did a little more of the research on like how do you come at it from Twitch's perspective, because I do know that like right now everyone is really on Twitch about how bad they are, but like maybe we should be looking at what they're doing right. We just don't do that. Like the first thing, like Cap said in chat, it's been a while since Twitch had a W. Like that was the first thing that was like, whenever we were having the conversation, that was the first thing that was said, is just that the Twitch hasn't had a W in a long time. Well, we won't give them one. Like we never, anything that could be a W for them is not given. Like I feel like no matter, they could give a 70-30 split and nobody would care. Like they would find another reason to complain because it's Twitch.
That's true.
Now, so like that was kind of where I was going with it, was like, how can we look at it from another perspective, because we really need to be able to examine both sides. So yeah, that was kind of that was actually the point of the way that I looked at that topic, was to try and come in and be a little adversarial about it, not like try and throw fist, but
no shots fired, and
just try and get people to think a little different.
Oh no, yeah, totally, exactly. Yeah. No, 100%. But yeah, I think mine's totally unrelated, but I got to go do a second showing on the house like this week, and I think when you look at something once, like it comes with looking at everything like in eyes, like you look at something the first time, you're like, this is so great, and like you're not noticing like the little details here and there, because you're looking at the over a big picture, and then like going back to the house the second time, I was looking like, there's a plug here and a plug here and a plug here, there's a cable jack here for cable, like there's a switch that's near a plug here, like just analyzing like, well, what am I gonna need? And like that made me very more like happy, because like the house has kind of been looking at it like, oh, it's a good place to move into. There's like enough space and everything, and like there's like like adequate like like just space to live. Now going the second time was like, oh, I can put my setup here. And there's enough plugs there that I'm not going to be having to like trace like an extension cord from the one plug that's like across the room all the way to where I need it to be, because the house is designed efficiently. So I'm really happy that going the second time was like looking at the other things I missed. The first time, like even though like to plug my car, like you can plug it into a dryer outlet to get more amperage. And like I was looking, I didn't pay attention the last time because I didn't think about it. And I went back and like looked behind the laundry machine and dryer, and I saw the plug. I was like, yes, I have a plug. I can plug in to charge it faster. Like, and the thing is, like, you don't notice like when you look at things the second time. So like
watching a film for the second time, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like you get to pick out details that you didn't see, or things you didn't see for the first time, and be more excited to move in, because like there's more things I know I need to do and be able to like accomplish, and I know I'm not going to get them done the first day or the first week, but I'm not sure there are things like I could work on, improve, and things that are set there that are good building blocks for a good place. So excited for the move and excited to get into the next chapter of my life. Let's put it that way.
Heck yeah.
But yeah.
Good, dude.
So alright, so concluding comments. Kishi, where will we find you again? I know you said at the beginning, but just give us a summary again. Your socials, where you post, where you do.
I am on the internet. Where am I? I'm on kick.com/GishiFPS. I'm on twitch.tv/GishiFPS. I'm also on Instagram. Just search for GishiFPS and I'll come up. It's the same on all of them, and the same on Twitter. I have an Etsy where I've got some merch, which I know I need to restock.
I know you do restock that one size.
I need to restock. Yes, I know. Yes. Yeah, that's actually not GishiFPS. That's etsy.com/type by Calvin, I think it is.
Yeah, that's by Calvin. Yep.
Yes, but yeah, no, I'm all over the place. Whenever you kind of come through to like one of my streams, I'm just kind of like hanging out, being a weird dude that's super optimistic about everything all the time. And yeah, no, it's always a good time. I just imagine like when I'm streaming, I just imagine like if you, like all hanging out like in the living room, just playing games and just whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's kind of the point. Like we aren't trying to be like super serious or nothing, Just hanging out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so I'm going to include this podcast. This is season 2, episode 6 of GishiFPS, and I'm going to stop, and then we'll see you guys in the. Well, I'm going to stop the recording, so don't go anywhere. You're not like leaving yet, but we're going to see you guys in the next podcast next month.